to the Entertainah Talking Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Kind of a slow day in New York Giants land. The Giants are traveling actually today to go to Cleveland for 2 days of inter-squad practices on Thursday and Friday before they take them on Sunday for their second preseason contest, which will be live streaming on the channel. Really looking forward to that. But in this video, kind of wanted to dive into some of the quotes that came out yesterday from the press conferences of Dave Gettleman, Joe Judge, some of the things he had to say, along with the owner, John Mara, regarding the football team. They talked about a number of things, whether it be Daniel Jones, whether it be if Dave Gettleman's on the hot seat. John Mara did answer that. Along with the offensive line, there was a lot of quotes that came out with that, and we all know that's a major question mark right now with this New York Giants football team. And we all know going into this year that regardless of what we hear out of these press conferences, the Giants amped up the pressure, right? And John Mara realizes that. They went out there, they spent a lot of money. You don't spend money not to compete. So regardless of what came out of this press conference, yes, Dave Gettleman, Joe Judge, everybody has some pressure this year. Some may lose their jobs, some may not, but there is definitely added expectations for this team to produce a winning record in 2021. And we're going to have to wait till the season starts to see how this season evolves. But let's jump into some of the quotes that came out from John Mara, Dave Gettleman, along with Joe Judge. This, when asked about whether or not Dave Gettleman specifically was on the hot seat. I don't remember who asked it, but this was John Mara's response. We're all in the hot seat, with our fans in particular. We've given them too many losing seasons. It's time for us to start winning. Of course, the Giants are, I think it's 15-33, somewhere along those lines, since Dave Gettleman has taken over, and some of that has to do with the fact that they're in the middle of a rebuild, and some of it certainly has to do with the fact that they started the rebuild a year too late. Ultimately, Mara insists that the team's final standing during the 2021 regular season will not solely result in firings or new hirings. So he's basically saying he's not setting a mandate in terms of what the record needs to be, but he wants to see an improved product, which he's been consistent this entire offseason when talking about that, which, in my opinion, is an improvement over what he said last year, regardless of what you want the owner to say. And I'm sure a lot of New York Giants fans watching this video want Mara to come out and just be frank. Listen, if we don't make the playoffs, everybody's fired. If we don't win 9 games, everybody's fired. But I think it's a smarter approach for an owner not to come out with a mandate. Last year, he said they needed to improve their batting average. You don't want your general manager to feel like he's operating under more pressure than he already knows he's operating under. Because then maybe he goes out there and tries to do stupid things to save his job. No, I wouldn't say that's an accurate statement, Mara said when asked if Gettleman is on the hot seat specifically. I'll look at the end of the season and see whether I think we're continuing to make progress and moving in the right direction. But I'm not issuing a playoff mandate. I don't think those ever do you any good. I don't think I need to say or do anything to motivate the people in this building any more than they've already been motivated. They all want to win, Mara said, and I think that's the proper approach. And at the end of the year, we'll see how the team does, and that's when we'll have to see what John Mara's decision may be and who stays and who goes. Obviously, we're all hoping it's not much of a decision, and the New York Giants go out there, win the division, go to the playoffs, and maybe do some damage when they get there. Next up, we're going to talk about this. I have confidence in that group when John Mara was talking about the offensive line. Did we do enough? I think time will tell, and obviously that's a huge question mark going into this year. The New York Giants are clearly banking on the young players that they drafted in 2020 to take a major step up, and the weapons that they've added to help assist the growth of that offensive line, and I guess Daniel Jones having more familiarity in the scheme year 2 along with the offensive linemen. So that's what they're banking on. I'm going to give them the year to prove that they're right. We'll have to wait and see. I like those guys, co-owner John Mara told reporters. I think we're always looking to upgrade where we can. Do we have enough depth there? I'm not sure about that yet, but I think we'll get a better indication of that over the next couple of weeks when we're practicing against some pretty good teams. Of course, they'll be doing the practices against the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots, and I'll answer that question for you, John, if you're watching this video, which I know you're not. No, you do not have enough depth right now, and I think the Giants know that. I think every Giants fan watching this knows that. It's why you went out there and you signed Looney before he retired. It's why we signed Fulton. I absolutely no, the New York Giants will add some quality depth to this offensive unit. They have to. Next up, I think all 5 of the starters, plus a couple of the backups, are good quality players. I know our coaching staff feels good about them. Obviously, there's going to be skepticism about them until they do it on the field and they start producing some complete games and some wins. I do like the people that we have up there, and I do have confidence in them. And I mean, what do you expect the owner to say? So don't read too much into these quotes. I will agree with him that Solder, I do think, is a quality backup. Jonathan Harrison, I suppose, is a quality backup. But after that, I think there's major question marks. On the offensive line, like he said, they can have all the confidence in the world. But us as a fan base, nobody's going to say they're completely confident in this offensive line until we start to see them produce on the football field. Were there times last year where I started to see growth? Absolutely, but it wasn't enough. And hopefully year 2, they're ready to take a major jump with this same unit. I think they have the potential to be a very good offensive line, but again, until they do it out on the field and we start producing some good offensive performances, there's going to be skepticism, and I understand it. Maris said, so basically just doubling down when he was asked about a similar question. This then coming out from Dave Gettleman, talking about the offensive line. 4 of the 5 starters were out there Saturday night, and the offensive line really played pretty well. And I actually agree with that sentiment. I mean, outside of the backup, Kenny Wiggins, and the one play by Matt Barrett, I actually thought the offensive line got a good push up front. Will Hernandez really impressed me. Andrew Thomas as well. Of course, Quinnen Williams was not in the lineup due to an injury. You were still going against for the most part, at least partially a first team defensive line for the New York Jets. And I do think that the offensive line at least had a satisfactory performance. So I thought that was encouraging, and you have to figure it'll only get better when Shane Lemieux gets in the lineup. Obviously, we didn't expect Looney and Fulton to retire, but they had their reasons, and it's their lives. I wish them the best and respect the decisions they made. They made tough decisions. Training camp is not over. The roster building season never ends. We'll get to where we need to get to when talking about the offensive line and the overall depth of the unit. I think that we believe in Will. We believe in the offensive line, Shane Lemieux, when talking about, I guess, the interior portion of the offensive line. My gut tells me that there'll never be more movement of those types of players that you feel good about after the second preseason game, and maybe even after the cut, because you've got to remember you have a full week going into the 53, Coach Joe Judge said, is left a couple of practices. Players have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. So I think you could see some horse trading going on during that period of time, Gettleman said, and I guess kind of hinting at maybe the New York Giants will make an addition eventually on the offensive line. We'll see. We're always talking through the roster, Judge said when questioned about the offensive line. We're always looking at personnel at all times. That's our job, to know who's available based on what we need and what the team needs for competition. In terms of will we bring somebody in, I won't rule that out. I'm not saying that's an absolute or that we have to do it, but we'll see where the person on the street is available, and we'll see where we are at as a team. So he didn't definitively come out and say, and I think previously sounded like he was more direct when asked about that about a week ago, when he basically said we're going to add an offensive lineman. He didn't concretely say that there, but I think we all know that more than likely the Giants are going to add somebody. Now, when asked about Daniel Jones, we believe in Daniel. We're excited to see what he's going to do in the second year in the system. Before this year, it was his third system in 3 years. So this will be the second year in a system. You know how diligent the kid is. We've talked about it all the time. He works just as hard on the field as he does off. He's more comfortable. He's more prepared. It'll be fun to see what happens when we finally give him a full complement of players out there, Gettleman told reporters. And, of course, up to this point in time, Jones hasn't had that, right? Barkley hasn't been out there. Galladay, for the most part, hasn't been out there. Tony's missed some practices. But Gettleman, of course, expressing confidence in his quarterback, which he should. His job relies on it. I think we all know that. Mara was a bit more reserved when it came to Jones, but expressed a hope that the young quarterback plays so well it makes a future decision on his contract an easy one. So much like when he's been questioned about Barkley about the future contract, it's the same thing with Jones. He's saying, we like him, we need results. Well, I think before you make that type of decision, yes, you have to know, and this will be his third season. Hopefully he stays healthy. Hopefully he'll make it an easy decision for us by the end of the year, Maris said. So basically what Maris saying there is, if Jones goes out there and bowls out this year, he may very well get an extension at the end of the season, similar to the way that Josh Allen got it. Obviously, he's got a long way to go before we start talking about that, but of course, we should want Daniel Jones to get paid. That means he's doing the job. Asked if acquiring an additional 2022 first-round pick from the Chicago Bears was a sort of security blanket in the event that Jones falters this season, Gettleman was quick to dismiss that notion. And what did you expect Gettleman to say when asked about this? You know, I laughed at that when I read the quote, Dave Gettleman went out there and drafted Daniel Jones. He's his quarterback. He's still on the roster. He's the starting quarterback. Do you think he wants Daniel Jones thinking about his job security going into 2022? He's got enough pressure on his shoulders, knowing how the team performed last year. Not even a thought. No. The trade was made because the opportunity was there, and there was an opportunity to get an incredible amount of value. And we really liked the position that we were in. So no, that was not done as any kind of hedge, the general manager said. And Gettleman may or may not be telling the truth. Of course, we all know Gettleman said he would never trade Odell Beckham, and a good general manager should never show you his cards. So I don't blame him one way or the other. Could it have been in the back of his mind if Jones doesn't succeed, at least we have insurance to trade up? Sure. But he could also be completely telling the truth, and maybe they weren't absolutely in love with the player there, and they said, let's trade down, let's get a future first-round pick, and continue to build the team next year, knowing that we're not going to have a lot of money to spend in free agency. Let's get an extra first-round pick to try to bring in an impact player in 2022. So there definitely could be some legitimacy behind with what he had to say. And finally, this was a quote coming out from John Mara. I expect to win more games than we did last year. Hopefully, we're going to be a playoff team this year. You can call it anything you want. I just want to feel like after this last game that we have here is a team that could win a Super Bowl. And the only way that that John Mara at the end, that's all I got for you guys. But the only way that John Mara is going to feel that this team could win a Super Bowl by year's end, they're going to have to grow. They're going to have to improve. And obviously, Daniel Jones is going to have to take a major step up. Listen, I've been reading on Twitter, a lot of people have been talking about that the New York Giants need to upgrade the backup quarterback position. This year is Daniel Jones' year to prove it. It's not going to matter who we bring in for the backup quarterback. Period, end of story. It's Jones' year to prove whether or not he's going to be worthy of taking the mantle into year 4, year 5, year 6, so on and so forth. Does he need to be a finished product? Absolutely not. Does he need to be a much improved product? Absolutely. The Giants need to have confidence that the boat is headed in the right direction with Daniel Jones, this offense, and this coaching staff by year's end. That's basically what John Mara is telling you. Last year, I think they met expectations at a bare minimum. This year, they need to do the same, which to me means 9 wins plus, unless there's major injuries, which you can never count out. But I expect Daniel Jones to take a big step up this year, and it sounds like the New York Giants do as well. I still think the New York Giants are going to address the offensive line in the coming days. Maybe it'll be 2 weeks, maybe it'll be 3 weeks, as they wait, for teams to start to cut down their roster, and maybe you get a better quality player that way. But there's no denying it. The Giants need more talent on the bench of that offensive line. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. As always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.